What everyday skill becomes suspicious if you're too good at it? Recognizing faces. I was approaching the check-in counter of a hotel I didn't remember being in before when the desk clerk welcomed me by name. I was visibly startled. His co-worker explained he's got a freakish memory. I checked later I had been there 3 years before. In his job, with the thousands of faces he sees a year, that is a little disturbing. Knowing where people keep items on their person. Friend will be looking for his keys or phone and I'll know what jacket pocket he left it in. It's worse if you can move things from one pocket to another without them noticing. It's better if you can move things from one pocket to your own pocket without them noticing. I once had a neighbor catch me while I was taking groceries out of my car and ask if I knew how to open locked doors as they locked themselves out by mistake. Went over to their door, took out a credit card, and shimmied my way in no more than 5 seconds. Probably was bittersweet for them. My boss locked herself out of the shop last week and I did this. We're getting new locks and a security system now. Walking silently. It's always a good skill to have to be able to be quiet in a moment's notice, but do it too well and you start appearing behind people and freaking them out. How long have you been there? Type things. My significant other's parents' house has hardwood floors that everyone just stomps around on. I don't like making noise when I walk, so according to them I sneak around their house and scare them unintentionally sometimes. A couple of years ago I locked my keys in my car in a Walmart parking lot. I went in and asked if they could help me. 2 employees came out with a jimmy. The one guy made a bet with the other that he could unlock my car in under a minute. He then proceeded to unlock my car in 15 seconds. I told him thanks, you must have a lot of practice. To which he laughed and walked away. Eavesdropping. I just passively listen to other people a lot when I'm alone, even if I'm doing something else. It gets really embarrassing when you bring up information you heard from their conversation forgetting that you weren't involved, or when you laugh at a joke said by someone across the room. Genuine kindness. My father was such a good soul, and people were suspicious about his kindness sometimes. I had a boss who was pretty much Mr. Rogers. It took a while to get used to it. We still work with each other sometimes and I still occasionally think he's being a sarcastic ass when he's definitely not. Tying a noose. At basic training I got tasked to help the drill sergeants create their haunted house, battalion competition. Long story. My drill asked if anyone knew how to tie a noose, and I whipped out a perfect one in only a few seconds. He just looked at me and said, "Private. What the duck?" I don't think it's really an everyday skill, but being able to tell somebody by the sound of their footsteps. When friends or family approach my door I know who's about to knock. I love creeping them out by saying, "Come in, name here." You can tell a lot by the sound of footsteps. Who is it? Are they angry? Happy? Relaxed? Drunk? Are they wearing shoes? Heels? Barefoot? Though I personally have a habit of tiptoeing everywhere. Maintaining composure during a crisis. Do it too much people and think you lack sympathy and are a sociopath. I used to be a dispatcher for Home Hearing Fuel in Juneau, Alaska, and when I'd meet people I'd say, "Oh, you live such and such street." I'd get an uncomfortable silence from them and have to tell them, "We deliver your oil." I work. Former garbage man here. Yup. Strike up a conversation with someone at a bar once who I absolutely ducking hated as a customer. These rotten pieces of shit would throw food and refuse straight into a can that I couldn't put on a tipper, meaning I have to pick up and dump 200 pounds of balls at 6 feet in the air and dump by hand. As soon as I heard his last name I repeated the first and his address. That asshole knew. He knew. He had seen me throw that goddamned can into the middle of his yard on more than one occasion when I had rotten garbage juice running down the back of my neck because he was too lazy, stupid or cheap to use a ducking bag. I asked him politely to use a goddamn garbage bag or two and left it at that. And he did. Remembering things about a person from a few months/years ago when the person herself can't remember about it. You just look like a stalker and it's frustrating. I totally understand. People always think I'm a creep because I remember almost everything about them after meeting, even if we met years before. I was once hitting it off with a girl I knew from high school at a bar. She didn't remember me, and I just knew who she was, like I was aware she existed, so I said, "Oh, I remember you from high school." And that was apparently the weirdest thing she'd ever heard, and it just killed the mood for her. Sorry, I remember that you existed. I'm such a creep. Not me, but someone I know once mentioned to me back in their high school days, they were suspected of being a snitch because they would always be inclined to leave right before the bust happened. It wasn't that the guy was a snitch. He'd say that sometimes he just got a feeling, or he knew when a party was just dead. Some sort of sixth sense for this. Every time he got around to leaving, his buddies would usually follow suit, since they were usually the ones dealing anyways. I look at license plates. I don't know why, but it's every day for me. But for some reason I pretty much had the license plate of the girl I liked memorized. It was easy to remember and we worked the same place together every day, so I saw it a lot. One time I almost slipped and said, "Hey, were you driving out in underscore today?" And almost mentioned that the truck's license plate looked just like hers. So by an incidental combination of being a gearhead and at one time a tow truck driver, I am a little more observant when it comes to cars than most. I also have a knack for numbers and memorize things unintentionally. I've stopped mentioning to people that I saw their car somewhere or other, the movies for example. It's awkward explaining that I know your plate and can spot your POS Sentra from across the parking lot. Lying. Being a good liar means you don't raise suspicion. I have very fast reading comprehension. People never believe me when I say that I've already read it and get frustrated that I don't take longer. I can't do simple math, but I read like lightning. I'm also very good with card handling, so everyone suspects that I cheat at poker. I encourage that because it keeps their eyes on my hands and not on my face. In freshman year of high school, a teacher accused me of cheating on a test because I finished it too quickly. Ironically, the test was on test-taking strategies. Interrogating someone without them knowing. I was at a school thing, and one of my girl classmates really liked a guy, but was too nervous to talk to him. She asked me to figure out some of his info, and I ended up getting first name, last name, school, hobbies, and grade level. She was happy, but more than a little creeped out about how casually I did it. My former boss told me I had this skill and she would have me go to all of the hiring events that we had. I worked for a college, and have me mingle and talk among the applicants and then have me show her the ones I felt had the most promise. I have a very good sense of smell and I can frequently tell which of my friends/classmates/co-workers/family members have been in a room recently by their smell. Usually it's their laundry detergent or shampoo. I can usually tell what the brand/scent it is too. I don't really talk about it because it creeps people out. Certain types of cleaning. A few years ago I was at work and someone dropped a coffee pot that shattered everywhere. So glass and liquid were in a pretty good size area. Me and my buddy left to get a mop bucket and a broom. We weren't gone long. Another co-worker of ours that stayed to pick up some of the glass even though we told him not to do it barehanded. When we got back he was wiping down a doorknob and we asked him why he was doing that. As we walked into the room the entire mess was gone. When we turned around he had disappeared from the room. The trash had a new bag in it and there was no trace of anyone ever being there. So in the 4 to 5 minutes it took us to get supplies and fill up a mop bucket, this kid got all the glass shards, cleared the counter and floor of coffee, taken all the trash out, and wiped down a doorknob. He should have been a custodian, but he could have been a murderer. So many. Lock picking, climbing over/around things to go places you aren't supposed to. Breaking into cars. Playing with fire, explosives. Fixing things like computers and cars. MacGyvering situations to somehow make it work. Encryption, Tor, Darknet. I'm not a malicious person, I swear. I just have a compulsion to be able to go/do things I'm not supposed to. When I worked at a tailor for years, people freaked out when I am able to tell them their jacket, trouser and shirt size just by looking at them. Still do it today and I find it funny.